Continuing chapter 3, we have Megan's Law. We already went over. It's the purpose of Megan's Law is to alert the community to the presence of convicted sex offenders in the area. This law came about when a little girl named Megan was abducted from a sex offender who moved in right across the street from them, kidnapped her, raped her, and killed her. And as a result, the parents were on a mission to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else. So if they knew that he moved in next door or across the street, they wouldn't have allowed her to just so freely roam the neighborhood. So they'd keep a closer eye on her too. So they want to make sure that the communities get alerted to where the sex offenders are. And some advocates for the rights of the sex offenders ended up saying that it's a double punishment for the same crime. But you know what? Better safe than sorry from these freaks. So Megan's Law was passed. So if you want to know where they are, you go there. We already went over that. I went to the website and explained it to you, so showed it to you. So let's go on to the next portion here. You guys already highlight this yet or no? For Megan's Law, page 53?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
All right, so now we're going to go over the 3 types of misrepresentation. We're going to start out with puffing. Puffing isn't misrepresentation. It's exaggerated statements that are your opinion. Exaggerated opinions, which are done as part of salesmanship. My, isn't this the most gorgeous kitchen you've ever seen in your life? Look at these gleaming floors. You could practically eat off them. I'm not eating off of anyone's floor. It's an exaggerated statement of opinion that's done as part of salesmanship. As long as you don't do it to try to deceive someone or mislead someone, there's nothing wrong with it. You should be puffing. That's what salespeople do, right? You sell it, you puff. All right, so that's what puffing is, another term to add to your definition list. Statements of fact, however, must be accurate. You can't puff up facts. Square footage and things like that must be accurate. There are 3 types of misrepresentation. You have fraud, which is intentional misrepresentation intended to harm or deceive someone. You have negligence, which is unintentional misrepresentation done by someone who should have known better. That would be you guys. Property values are sure to go up 10% in the next year. How the hell would you know that? You don't start putting out statements like that because there's no way for you to know that. And that is a form of misrepresentation, especially if the property values do not go up, right? So that is negligence. You can be found guilty of negligence because you know better. Then you have innocent misrepresentation. These are false or misleading statements done by somebody who's not expected to have expertise in the subject matter, kind of like the property owner, right? So if the property owner, gives you a false statement, but they didn't intend to, and you ran with it and you spread that same information that they told you, but it was false, you could be found guilty of negligence. Give you an example. Getting a listing one time, I was meeting with the husband and wife. Wife walked out of the kitchen for a moment. The husband was telling me how they got a new roof, how it was only about a year old. And wife walks in the kitchen, says, "What's going on?" And she's like, "I was just telling them how the roof is new. It's only about a year old." And the wife slaps him in the back of the head. She's like, "What the hell's wrong with you? That's when Jimmy got married. That was like 5, 6 years ago already." Oh, how time flies. Now, if I just ran with that information that it was 1 year old, which is very specific in time frame, without verifying it, and I just put that out there in advertisements, I would be guilty of misrepresentation because I passed along false information and I should have known better. Trust but verify is the motto that we should always go by. So, those are the three forms of misrepresentation: fraud, negligence, and innocent misrepresentation. You should know the difference. And then so what's the best way to avoid misrepresentation other than simply sticking to the truth? Um, well, verify information that people have told you before passing it along, right? And always refer people to the experts when they ask for advice. Is this legal? You're going to need to talk to your attorney about that. Is this dangerous? Well, you know what? We're going to get inspection from a New Jersey licensed home inspector. Right? How's this going to affect my taxes? You know what? You should talk to your CPA or tax attorney about that. It's not that I just keep pushing off these answers, these questions onto other people. It's that I'm not the expert in them. Even though I may have some knowledge in this because I've been doing it for a while, I'm not the expert in that. Do you want to rely on my advice or would you like it from an expert? My job is not to know all things about all things. My job is to know who does. So then I can know who to refer you to, you know. So legal questions refer to attorneys, property condition to the home inspectors or surveyors, appraisers, title companies, pest control, or pool companies. The ones that do those inspections of those different things. Taxes, yeah, accountants, CPA, attorney you refer people to. Where are the sex offenders? I don't know. I don't monitor them, right? I can refer you to county prosecutor's office, but until you move there, they're not going to share that info with you. But you go to the state police website and check out the Megan's Law Registry, right? So knowing where to direct people is doing your job. It seems like you're pushing them off, but it's not. What are the best schools? Oh, where the best schools are. Well, for that, you could direct them to the New Jersey Department of Education's school report card system. They got a database with the report cards that they can check out. Yeah. Now, what do you do if none of that stuff is available? Can you imagine it not being available? Your clients ask you a question about these things, and we refer them to the experts, but there is no source for them available to check. It didn't happen. It happened, and not too long ago, when during President Obama's first presidency, he started stating that school report cards are racist. Yeah, a lot of this stuff that we're seeing right now actually sprung up during his administration, and then just different presidents just carried on with it, and it just got crazy and out of hand to what it is right now today. But yeah, that actually did happen. I had clients that were looking for the good school systems, and how was I to refer them when what he did is he ordered that all states take down any reporting, any information about schools and students' performance. So therefore, there was no database to refer them to. It was all taken down. It wasn't available anymore. The New Jersey Department of Education took it down. So then what do? I tried referring them to third-party websites like greatschools.com and stuff, but you know what? You go there, and it's like you get a parent that's like, "Oh, this school is excellent. The teacher baked cookies for the class." What? What the hell does that have to do with an excellent school? I've had the parents that were looking for graduation rates, SAT scores, how many kids move on to college, and things of that nature. And you're not going to get that from a website like that, which was reliant on parents' opinions and old school report card information. So it wasn't very helpful. But all that information is back up there again, so there are loops that sometimes we get thrown for, and then it becomes quick trying to problem solve that. So back then, I also referred to Star Ledger came out with that Blue Schools. That's around the time that the Blue Ribbon Schools rankings were coming out. And so Star Ledger had that Blue Ribbon School ranking. That's not districts; those are schools. But then parents had problems with that too. I've had parents that I referred to them to the Blue Ribbon Schools, and they're like, "What is this crap?" They're like, "You know what even makes a Blue Ribbon School?" Now, since then, the criteria did change a bit, but they did put a lot of weight in government funding. Government funding and diversity were the highest things above test scores, teacher student pupil ratio per classroom, extracurricular activities, graduation rates, the ability to read and write. I mean, hell, today, right now, we're seeing it being screwed up again by politicians once again. Politicians always end up screwing stuff up for us, right? You see in New Jersey now, you guys know that math is racist, reading is racist. Have you guys heard the latest thing about teachers in New Jersey? In order to become a teacher in New Jersey, they're removing the requirement that they have to take and pass tests. I'm not kidding you. The students may have to pass more rigorous testing than the teachers do. They remove the testing requirements for teachers. It's a nuttiest thing. Yeah. Will this eventually get changed? Yeah, maybe we change our governor. He's the one that signed off on this nonsense. But I don't see that education is going to improve in New Jersey as long as that's going on, right? What do you think? A teacher that doesn't need to be tested to know if they even know the information they're supposed to be teaching? All right. it's it's
Well,
not.
there was a pilot that, had a crash in a helicopter. I think they followed the same methodology.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have a question about the misrepresentations. You know, if you have an agent that represents both sides,
Uh-huh.
um, and what's stopping them of saying, okay, this I got an offer for higher number, like it's listed for 330, and the number is now it's 380 or 370. So he just raised it up just because he has a feeling that they can afford it. Like how the buyers protected from that type of behavior.
If you're the listing agent, you're not allowed to disclose what any other offers are, even to your own clients, if you're working with a seller and a buyer. You can't put one party's interest above the other, and you have to treat other agents fairly.
Well,
So,
it's you don't mean agents, you mean another the buyer. Because if you have a
well,
situation, a listing agent also has a buyer that come in and makes direct offer with him
yeah, yeah.
or her.
So, what if there's agents from other offices that bring in buyers? Right? You got to treat them fairly as well, and their clients, right? You can't be disclosing what anybody else's offers are. And if you have a client that's a buyer, you know what the other offers are coming in from other agents that are submitting for their clients. You can't go to your buyer client and be like, yeah, you need to have it above this amount because that's the highest offer.
Mhm. But there's still like some phrases that they can kind of suggest to them. Yeah, you
Invest
gotta prove it.
in
You gotta,
writing. That's what your phrase should be.
what
Make
is
your
it?
make your highest and best offer, put it in writing, and we'll present it. You should not say anything else. You start telling them how much the other offer is. Oh, you need to be up a little more than that, a little more than that, a little bit more than that. Yeah, that should be good enough. No, you can't do that. Well, can you do that? Sure you can, but you're violating the rules, you know. And if you get caught doing that, you could get in trouble for that.
But the point is that how are they going to get caught? Because they don't have to
No,
disclose.
people get caught. I've been showing you this whole class so far, these disciplinary actions pages. Look at the guy who gave a rebate to his buyer that he was working with. Who reported him on that? But they found out somehow, and he got in trouble. Look, the real estate commission has investigators. Their
Hmm.
investigators are just not people who just want to play investigators. They are, a lot of them are former and retired, longtime police investigators for years. They got access to a lot of resources. They know how to track stuff down, and these guys are slick. They could even have conversations with you and act like it's all matter of fact. And in the meantime, it's, they're digging in on you right now, you know.
It's like a secret shopper or something.
No, they're outright. They'll tell you they're an investigator, you know, and they'll ask about stuff, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but they do, yeah, have those secret mystery shoppers too.
Okay.
Those people are volunteers that HUD trains. Um, those mystery shoppers. People act like they're buyers. All right. And if that happens and you happen to be working with one of them and trying to help them get the offer so you get both ends of the deal, you are effed, man. Yeah, because they ain't on your side. But usually they're not looking for things like that. Usually they're looking for discrimination. All right. So the best ways to avoid that misrepresentation, once again, are trust but verify. Don't lie, stick to the truth, and always refer to the experts. You could get a question, and probably will, about that itself. What's the best way to avoid misrepresentation? No. Stick to the truth and refer to the expert sources. Puffing you need to know, and misrepresentation. So a lot of stuff there all in one place. If you'd like to highlight it, that would be great. Or I'm sorry, if you'd like to snap a picture of this slide, that would be great. Otherwise, we're going to go to the next page and we're going to start highlighting this stuff all over the book where it's disjointed all over the place. But this is a nice little note that's got several things all together and explained a little better. Okay. So extravagant statements of opinion. Now we're going to do the highlights here. You're going to highlight this for puffing. You're going to highlight this term here for what fraud is. Now let's see, if either party suffers a loss because of broker's misrepresentation, the broker can be held liable for the damages. When they say broker, they're meaning you. You tell people, yeah, property values sure to go up 10% in the next year. Then they don't. They can sue you. You can always put an addition or a deck back here, or put a pool here in the backyard. And if the property is in a historic district of town, usually homes that are in historic sections of town are, are restricted on the improvements they could do on the exterior of the building. They need to keep that same historic look, and they're usually restricted from changing the footprint of the exterior of the home. Inside, they're free to remodel to their heart's content, but on the exterior, they upgrade the windows or the siding or anything. It needs to maintain that historic look, and they need to not only run it by the city's building department to get their permits, they also need to run it by the local historic society. Otherwise, they could fine you heavily. All right. So here's those three types of misrepresentation. That's on page 54. Deliberate lie intended to mislead someone is called fraud or fraudulent misrepresentation. Negligent or unintentional misrepresentation covers false or misleading statements made by someone who should have known better. And then you have that innocent misrepresentation. It's done usually by property owners who are not expected to have expertise in subject matter that they're talking about. All right. So what are the criteria to be
I
liable for?
need 1 second on that page.
There, there or a previous one?
This one.
By the way, while we're at it, I might as well throw out that morning attendance poll.
I got it.
Okay. Where's everybody? Morning attendance polls out there. Got two people have not answered it yet. Come on. Wakey, wakey. Answer the attendance poll, guys. Give a minute usually to people for this. All right, one more. One more. Who are we missing? Um, Whoever's not answering the attendance poll, you may want to get that now. Close it out in 15 seconds. I give everybody a minute and a half on that. That should be long enough. Yeah. All right. So misrepresentation, criteria to be found guilty for it. Well, there had to have been a false or misleading statement or a concealment of a material fact by a person who knows or should have known that that information was false, with an intent to deceive, or if there was no such intent, the ending effect was the person was still deceived or defrauded, and damages were suffered by the person who relied on that information. Now, it's relatively easy for an agent to avoid intentional misrepresentation by sticking to the truth, but omissions and half-truths may misrepresent just as well, right? You ever date somebody and they didn't tell you everything? They only told you part of the story, then you got all mad at them for something, all right? Isn't that just as bad as lying, right? Same thing here. Yeah, I try to make it more personal for you guys. And the offense may have been committed inadvertently, but that's not an excuse. The buyers looking at a rural property may be told, the septic systems works well, when in fact it doesn't. Now, if the agent knew the fact that the septic system wasn't working, well, you're guilty of fraud. That's intentional misrepresentation. But if you didn't know and you were just like, yeah, septic systems are normal in this area and there's probably nothing to worry about, well, you should have known better than that, right? So then you'd be guilty of negligence. Instead, you should have been telling them, well, we need to get it inspected. There's no way for me to tell you how well it's working. We go flush the toilet, run the water, go out in the backyard and see if there's puddles back there or you smell something. But otherwise, you need to get that septic system tested. And you could also check the records. We could request the records from the property owner that the septic system, when it was last serviced. Right? So if the agent knows the true, by the way, for those who don't know, a septic system, it's like your own private sewer system in your backyard close to your house. It's under the ground. It could be concrete or polyethylene or both. It's when you flush the toilet, when you take a shower, when you run this sink, you know, all the solid waste go into this tank along with the liquids. The liquids end up filtering out and go into the ground and sink into the ground. They get you got to have bacteria in that septic tank, which eats up the solids and any dangerous bacteria in the waste. And if you don't maintain it right, you kill that bacteria. The solids don't break down. The liquids and any other harmful bacteria don't get broken down either. So you got to periodically flush down your toilet or run it down the sink or whatever, or drop it directly into the tank. Good bacteria to do that breaking down for septic systems. And periodically, depending on the number of people in the household and the or the building and the types of appliances and such, and the size of the septic tank would dictate how long you need to before you need to get a company to come out and pump out the tank, because periodically you need to get some of that stuff pumped out. Now, half truths might mislead with a statement like, septic systems are normal. Okay, I already went over that. See, the broker knew nothing about the condition of the septic system is little defense either. You should tell them, hey, get that inspection done, right? Now, in recent years, buyers and sellers have become increasingly aware of other possible dangers posed by radon, lead paint, asbestos, asbestos building materials, toxic pollutants, urea formaldehyde, which is used in some spray foam insulations. It was banned and in the 1980s, and then later on that ban was lifted and changed to a warning after they were sued by the UFFI Industries attorneys, because the ban occurred when they found out that urea formaldehyde causes cancer in animals. However, they were unable to prove that because they didn't test it on humans, that it causes cancer on humans. So the ban was changed to a warning. So some houses today are still getting it put in them. Now, other environmental hazards are also available. Licensees should be able to direct their clients and customers to the expert sources. Among other areas where problems arise is when the agent starts, puffing facts. You don't puff facts. So, yeah, property values are sure to go up 10% in this area. The judgments have all been cleaned up. Unless you know that, you better not be telling people that stuff. We live in a litigious society. People love to sue. So you got to be careful when quoting square footages of houses, too, especially if you're the one that's taking the measurements. I usually don't put down square footages of houses unless I have a blueprint from the architect. Otherwise, I don't put it down like most agents in New Jersey. This is a big gripe that you get from a lot of people that move here from other states. They're like, how come the agents never put down what the square footage of the house is? Because people like you like to sue if we're off by, there was a chimney that came out into the space a little bit, so that room wasn't perfectly square. That ate into the space a little bit, and they didn't subtract that, so it was off by 100 square feet, and now somebody's going to sue you for the value of 100 square foot of the building, So that's why. That's why. And when agents do quote square footage, sometimes I see them and they are so far off. I see agents quoting square footage. Oh, this house is about 2,500 square feet, and then I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's about a 900 square foot house. What are you talking about? All right. So to avoid misrepresentation, absolute statements should be avoided, and requests for information should be met by referring the questioner directly to the expert source. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. That's page 55. You really got a question on it, and this will have something to do with the answer. All good?
Yeah, very
Yep.
good.
That's what a septic system looks like, close to the building. The main sewer pipe coming out of the building underground goes into this tank. This is a 2-compartment septic tank. There's larger ones, there's smaller ones, there's all kinds of makeups of them. You got the clean out hatches here for it. Now the solids will sink to the bottom. The liquids, which they call effluent, are in the middle, and sludges and greases will float to the top. You see, there's pipes here in the wall that will allow the liquids to flow over into the other side, and if you allow the solids to build up too much, they will too. You really shouldn't have any solids on the other side, though. And over here, before it goes out to the drain field, you should have a filter in these pipes so that the solids don't go out this pipe, because then they're going to start clogging the holes in the drain pipes here. And then that will be an expensive, costly repair to dig up the entire drain field and replace it, which is basically your backyard. And nothing should be planted over these. You shouldn't park cars over it, plant trees or anything like that, have dog pens or animal pens of any kind that could compress the soil or add contamination to it. Because as the liquids come out, they get filtered out naturally, and the natural bacteria will clean it up, and it gets filtered by the earth. And hopefully, it's not going to be a downstream from your well water.
Victor, we had a situation. I had a neighbor, and I don't know how they got away with it. Had the neighbor whose septic tank was leaking for about like 2 years.
Mhm.
And it was leaking downstream. And I know it's in New York, it's not New Jersey, so I'm not sure how New Jersey handles it. But I was like, how is that not some kind of violation that people have to deal with it, downstream with all the septic issues for like
Well,
over
what
2 years?
what was exactly leaking? I mean, septic tanks are designed to leak. Like this part over here where it goes out to the drain field. These pipes have holes in them. That's where the liquid flows out. For every gallon of liquid that comes in, 1 gallon of liquid comes out. The solids should be trapped in here, and the bacteria should break down the solids so you don't have to vacuum out this tank as often.
So I
Um,
think it's the liquid from the left side of the tank, I guess. But it was doing it constantly for a long, long time.
hmm.
And do they have to get signed for, because people call 311 and stuff, but
Yeah,
they
they
got,
should have noticed that on their property, because the ground will start to get saturated and get wet. If tank is leaking all the time because it's cracked or broken or something, this will the grass, the lawn, you'll see signs that it'll be greener than it is elsewhere. You
well,
know.
that was in the front yard. So it was like underneath the pavers, and the water was going through the pavers and downstream. So,
Mm.
and all the people who lived right below them, because I was right above them, so I wasn't really affected by much. But I was like, there's gotta be some kind of a law that prevents them from not fixing this stuff.
No, I mean the septic tank. I mean the liquids they drain out into the only thing is to make sure that they're not near anybody's well water.
Okay. Yeah.
Because underground wells. I'll show you a video later on about wells and how they work and how we get water when there is no public water available from the water treatment plants. We get our own water from the earth, like they've done for thousands of years. You dig a ditch deep enough, you'll hit water. But the problem is if you have a septic tank and it's too close to where the well water is, they could start to mix, and now you're going to have a problem because you're going to have contaminated water that you're drinking. um, there's also underground streams. Now, when we say stream, it's not like the stream that you could normally visualize. It's the water that's in between the particles of the dirt and rock and soil, and depending on the size of those rock particles or dirt particles, will determine how much it flows under the ground level. But yeah, the ground is usually saturated with liquid if you go deep enough. That's the water table. That's when you're hitting the water table. I'll show you some videos on that stuff. But as far as the leaking of these tanks, nah, nobody's really checking up on them except for the homeowner. It's your responsibility to maintain your own septic tank. It's on your property. Now, if it causes issues and problems with other people's properties, like you were saying, um, people would have to seek satisfaction from that property owner because they caused the problem. They would have to sue that property owner. But as far as laws go, for maintaining the septic tank? No, no. Just don't be, the only laws pertaining to septic tanks would be about flushing, like down the toilet or down the drain and getting into here and coming out into the drain field would be chemicals. You know, you don't flush chemicals down because that goes into the environment, and we all need the environment. We all get our waters, from the same sources. Yeah, even city water, it comes from the ground, it comes from streams, it comes from reservoirs, and then it goes to water treatment plants, and then it gets sent out to your house, but it still comes from the same sources. So if it's contaminated with some kind of chemicals and other materials, it could get affected too. Here's a different view of that septic tank where you got the pipes from the house or the building, they come out to the tank, and then it goes out to this drain field. That's usually a series of pipes like this. Okay. Now, if this is leaking, I don't know. They're gonna have issues with the solids too, I would imagine. Can't say I came across that issue before. So what ended up happening in your situation?
Well, it has some smell there, but not like that I would expect. But your explanation kind of explains why it wasn't that critical or drastic.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's going to the ground anyway. The worst case scenario is they're gonna have a problem that if the septic system fails or these pipes get clogged up, when they start flushing the toilet or running the water inside the house, it's gonna be backing up. That'll be their problem inside, right? It's more of an issue for them. All right, so here's some examples of those clean out hatches above the septic tank. You see this one? This one has 3. And you get these pumper trucks that they put the pipes down, they put those hoses down there, and it's like a big vacuum truck, and it sucks it all up, and they empty out that tank. That's nasty. But this is what happens when you don't live near the city where there's city pipes and city sewers. Has anybody ever wondered what happens when you flush the toilet? Where does the stuff go? You think those flushable wipes are really flushable, or do you think they clog pipes somewhere? You know what? Look up something called fatbergs. Fatberg. A fatberg is clumps of flushable wipes and grease and other things like that that solidify together, and they become these solid clogs in pipes. And sometimes the pipes need to be dug up out of the ground. They need to be cut up, these entire sections, because they're so clogged. Yeah, these pumping trucks need to, if you're out in a rural area, ain't necessarily even rural. Look, areas of Edison and Piscataway, you could find houses that are still on septic systems like this. They're not tied in to the public utilities. How often should these tanks get pumped? We don't need to know this, but this is just a little guide to give you some kind of reference. If you have a 1,000-gallon septic tank buried out there, and you got 3 people in the house living there, every 3.7 years, provided it's maintained. Now, if you have a dishwasher or garbage disposal, another person to that family size, boom, boom, and now it becomes every 2 years that tank needs to be pumped out. See, these are things that we need to be aware of as real estate agents. When we're getting a listing, when we're dealing with buyers buying a house, is it on public utilities or private? Because private ones, you're not going to get a bill. You need to maintain that stuff on your own. You need to get a contract with a company. You need to flush down the toilet, your own bacteria, so that it can maintain properly. Where do you get water from? Usually from public, right? It comes from the water treatment plants. They get it from reservoirs and all kinds of other sources. And how do they get it out to your house? Well, they got these pumping stations that have these huge electric pumps that pressurize the water in the pipes under the ground and send it out to your house. Now, to save on electricity and so that the cost of getting water to your house doesn't go through the roof, These pumping stations don't run constantly. Instead, water companies found a way to use natural pressure by having water towers. So they pump up water to fill up those water towers. And when water's in demand, when there's an emergency, or when everybody wakes up in the morning and takes a shower and what have you, and there's that demand for the water, it just comes from the reserve from these tanks, which could hold millions of gallons of water. And demand, and based on their height, they have so much pressure that the water will come out to your neighborhoods, or when there's a fire, the firemen are fighting, and they use the fire extinguishers, the fire hydrants to get the water. Where do they get that supply constant from? Well, from those water towers. They help keep a reserve there. As a matter of fact, the water pressure comes into your house at such a high pressure, you need pressure reducing valves. Otherwise, it could damage your washing machine and your hot water heater and stuff. So they lower it down between 12 to 16 pounds per square inch from about 60. All right, the New Jersey Consumer Fraud Act prohibits misleading, fraudulent scam practices, and they could fine you up to $10,000 for a first violation as well, for whatever fraud it is that you're doing with real estate there. We learned about the Sherman Antitrust Act. There's state, the $10,000 one, and then there's the Sherman Antitrust Act, which is prevents anti-competition in the marketplace. So it prevents competing agents from competing firms, makes it illegal for them to try to set an industry standard on the fees that they charge the public for the services they perform. So real estate agents should disassociate themselves immediately from the slightest discussion of those topics with agents from competing firms. Within your own brokerage, you could have training on it. You could do role playing on how you're doing it, but with agents from competing firms, you shouldn't even be talking to them about it. Same thing with, it also covers allocation of markets, where you're trying to split up the marketplace geographically or by value with the competition. That's illegal as well. That's covered under the Sherman Antitrust Act. And what are the fines? The penalties for violating the Sherman Antitrust Act, up to $1 million for an individual and up to 10 years in prison. And you could be held liable for triple the cost of the damages as possible if you just don't care. Corporations and trade groups, they could be fined upwards of $100 million or more. That's why we need to put in our ads, if we advertise a percentage or commission amount that we charge, or whatever that we want to brag about, maybe we're charging low fees, you still need to put in your ads, in New Jersey, all commissions are negotiable, to show that you are not setting your fees in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act, that the commissions are negotiable. They're not fixed. So you guys should already have this highlighted on page 55, right? For the Sherman Antitrust Act.
We got it.
And that on page 56, you got that highlighted as well, right?
Yes.
As we jumped forward, I think, in an earlier chapter and covered it. And okay, so coming up, ethics, liability, and disciplinary offenses, breach of fiduciary duties, failure to observe standards of care, conflicts of interest, misrepresentation, and a lot of that stuff we already went over. And numerous other offenses may result in fines or suspension or revocation of your license. So we carry errors and omissions insurance. It's like the medical industry's equivalent. It's like the equivalent to the medical industry's malpractice insurance that a doctor would carry. And that usually varies, but it's usually around $450 to $600 a year that we, as individual agents, will pay. Now you just need to ask your brokers, do I got to pay this up front? Will you take it out of my first commission? Or sometimes they have insurance plans where it's instead of paying $400 or $600 a year, you only pay a small nominal amount, maybe $75 per transaction that you do. However, the better of an agent you get, the more performance that you do, the more transactions that you do, this policy can get very expensive. It's cheap for those that are breaking into the industry and those that don't do many transactions. It's more affordable. But once you start doing and closing deals, it is actually a more expensive policy. Now, errors and omissions insurance doesn't cover fraud or intentional deception or theft or
Can you
things.
please go back to the previous slide?
Sure,
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah, it doesn't cover any intentional misrepresentation or fraud or anything like that. There's no insurance that covers that. You can't get insurance that says, hey, in case I get caught committing a crime and stealing from somebody or screwing them over, I'm covered. I'm protected. That's not what insurance is for. You good here now?
Yes, I got it.
So E&O is our equivalent to the medical practice malpractice insurance like a doctor would carry. We're all humans. We all make mistakes. We make errors, and sometimes we omit things. We forget to put things in contracts. So in case we do, if it ends up costing somebody, they try suing us, we can make an insurance claim on our E&O insurance policy. And depending on the values of the properties that you're dealing with would probably dictate the cost of your policy too, as well as if your office was ever had to do payouts before on it. All those things can affect your policy charges and costs. Avoid dual contracts. What are dual contracts? Well, a dual contract is we got a buyer, they want to purchase a property for $350,000. Yeah, awesome. We put together that contract, goes to the attorneys for attorney review. The lender is going to want the buyer's lender is going to want a copy of that contract too, but we give them one that's for $375,000. Oh, what are we trying to do here? Trying to get some extra money out more than what the house is actually being purchased for? Yeah, that's mortgage fraud. So that's a good segue to this next section here. Ethics. If you're dealing in dual contracts, you are ethically challenged. Yeah. So ethics dictate standards of moral principles that one has, addressing two sides of the profession. How an industry's professionals should treat each other as professionals, and how licensees should treat the public. That's what ethics are. Can you do something that's unethical but not illegal? Sure. You don't necessarily have to highlight this. I just got to highlight it here to point it out to you. Most professionals have codes of ethics for their members. You know, doctors have the Hippocratic Oath, even though it seems like they've been violating it a lot lately, you know, with children, giving them puberty blockers and trying to turn them into girls into boys and boys into girls. I don't know how that goes with how that fares with do no harm. It has proven to do more harm than good in their psyche and their physical. And then we have the attorneys. They follow a code of professional responsibility. Realtors have adopted their own code of ethics back in 1913. Anybody remember when New Jersey first required licensing? It was on the first page of the book. 1921. So since 1913, before New Jersey even required licensing for real estate, the Realtors organization was around and they adopted their own code of ethics because it was all them snake oil salespeople out there looking to screw people over and get one over on them and just make the money and get out of Dodge, right? Say whatever they want, make the money, screw over whoever. And so we realized that we needed to police our own in order to, if we wanted this profession to survive. Otherwise, we'd be looked at, and we often still are looked at, like maybe one rung on the ladder above the, car salespeople. That's always an experience, right? Who likes going to the dealership and dealing with car salespeople? Yes, I see no hands raised. One of the worst experiences. Oh my God.
Don't they like try to make you sign like the day of? That's why like a lot of people like
They
So-
bullshit you. It's bait and switch crap that they mail you to get you in there, and then all of a sudden it's not available, or the terms, oh, well, that was only for that vehicle, and that vehicle's gone, or this one's a little bit different, and then you get to the financing aspect and the interest and the down payments they want you to make and stuff, and when you really negotiate on it, there's I mean, there if you really know the ins and outs to it, it could still be a nightmare. Like you want to go buy a vehicle and you want to get a lower price on that. Dealerships, they have the ability to do that. The manufacturers give them what they call dealer coupons. Now they only get so many each month though. And you could ask them to use it on you to lower the price on the vehicle so it becomes more affordable so that you could buy it. They have the ability, they got the flexibility for that. But they only get so many of them. So they gotta use them wisely so that they could spread it across multiple buyer clients to be able to lower the price a little bit for them, but like when I went and bought my truck, I got a $70,000 truck, I ended up getting it for like 55 grand because I said, I want you to use all your coupons on me. I was like, I don't give a shit. I was like, do the best you can, get all your coupons, please give me your dealer price, whatever, you're going to make the money on me on the financing anyway. And I eventually, I had to walk out of so many dealerships when buying my truck. I had to walk out of so many dealerships, tell him to go screw himself, and walked out. There's an art to negotiating, and the only way that you're going to win in a negotiation is if you're not so tied to the transaction that you're not willing to walk away. All right. That desperation is smelled like blood in the water for sharks, so you got to be willing to walk away from a deal in order to get the best deal in many cases. All right. Here's a bunch of different resources and training and all that for you. NAR, National Association of Realtors, they make a lot of money off of us on training and teaching us stuff too. Pushing their education programs, but not only their education programs, they call them designations. So now you can put a couple of letters behind your name or a logo behind your name on a business card. And then in order, after you earn that designation, they're going to want you to pay every year to maintain and keep it. So yeah, they make a lot of money with that crap. So anyway, Code of Ethics been around since 1913, and today, right now, currently, we need to take it every 3 years. When you first get your license and then you go to work at your office and join the Realtors organization, you need to complete this training within 45 days. So here's a link for the 2025 Code of Ethics class, and you could take it online for free. You could check out the Code of Ethics. It's printed there. It looks like they got some kind of commercial conference coming up soon, so they keep pushing that there. So it's updated every year because with technology and times, things change. I told you guys the other day that I got that email I showed you where they're debating adding there into your Code of Ethics for being a member of their organization, not just dictating how you treat customers and clients and other fellow agents while you're working. Now they want to control your speech when you're off the clock. because you're a representative of their organization. We pay them enough money. That's something, huh? Now they want to police how your thought and your stuff. So we'll see what those changes, if they went through or not, soon. We'll hear about it. But either way, Code of Ethics, you could download them here, the latest ones. Look, the ethics have changed a lot since 2013. I'm sorry, 1913, right? Today we have the internet. We didn't have that back in 1913, right? So things have changed a lot. Here, let me give you an example of something that violates the Realtors Code of Ethics. You don't go buying a domain name from the competition and point it to your website. You don't go buy a Remax and point it to a Remax.com and point it to a Weichert.com website, as an example. This just shows how, with technology and how times change, these ethics need to change as well. All right, so that's the 2005 Code of Ethics, and you could click here and you could even take it for free online. It's about a 3-hour class. So here's the direct link to that ethics training class. Here, I'll give you guys a link to this site too. It is in the class links Word document as well, but there you go. I got all kinds of training resources there for you. So the broker is technically the realtor, and all their agents are realtor associates. They're associated to the member, who is the broker, who is the realtor. And you're all members of NAR, National Association of Realtors. You guys are going to be members of 3 associations: a local, the State Association, New Jersey Realtors, and NAR, the National Association of Realtors. You guys can become members of other, other associations, like ones that are tied to ethnic groups. Like you have Realtists, which are members of National Association of Real Estate Brokers, NAREB, the African American Association. You have the Hispanic Association. You've got Women's Council. You've got Asian Association of Realtors. There's a lot of them out there that you could join as well for an additional fee. Now, what do you get out of it? Well, I guess you could tie yourself to those communities, and you could also hopefully get some additional training out of it, maybe, that they'll give you that's useful. So here's the state New Jersey Realtors website. It's called njrealtor.com. Then you got that NAR Legal Resource Library. Remember where you're asking all those questions? That's actually New Jersey Realtor Resource Library. And they also have a section there on their website where you can see all the good things that they've done to pass laws or stop laws that would protect homeowners, renters, and buyers. At the legislative work, you could see what the Political Action Committee does. Then we have tools that New Jersey Realtors gives us for free, included with our membership. There's one here called narrpr.com. That's a website, but they also have an app for your cell phone that you could download. And it's pretty cool because if you're a member of a bunch of different MLSs, you could tie all of those logins to this one tool, and you could do a search using this one tool of all the MLSs simultaneously. It's pretty cool. You could do CMAs with it. You could do market research with it. You could do all kinds of cool stuff with it, looking up public records, etc. It's called narrpr.com. And they have a blog site with all kinds of training videos that show you how to use it. And that's pretty cool. Here, I'll even click on it, and I'll let you guys take a look. Whoop. So here you go, you log in, you get into it. But here, instead of me logging in and showing you, giving you the tour, I'll let their video do it. All right, so here, I'm going to play a video for you.
Property resource, we know that every realtor's goal is to be successful, maybe even to be successful. To achieve that goal, you need to be closing deals. It can be difficult to differentiate yourself from the competition, and that can lead to second guessing yourself. RPR can help you overcome that feeling and stand out as a realtor. That's why we built the nation's largest property database, exclusively for realtors, with the ability to search both residential and commercial properties right from the homepage. RPR is a real estate data platform that was designed with you and your success in mind. Its user-friendly and inviting interface allows you to keep tabs on your market areas, conduct powerful, intuitive map searches, for prospects, and see the variety of professional-looking reports that you can send to your clients in an instant. RPR isn't a magic button that solves everything. You still have to put in the work and effort. But it is flexible, easy to learn, and provides realtors with access to data, tools, and reporting to help you find clients, impress them, and bring them to the closing table. Because your hard work should lead to success. RPR can be accessed online at any time at rpr.com and by in both iOS and Android. RPR Residential covers every corner of your real estate business, from working with buyers to listing presentations and open houses. Quickly access everything from school, tax, foreclosure, and mortgage information to demographics, mapping, code zones, historical data, and so much more. RPR Commercial provides realtors with a central source of information to target locations and access consumer data for business sites. It's one place to access properties, perform research, and conduct site selection analysis without any high premiums. Commercial practitioners can stay at the forefront of trends to help attract and retain clients. RPR's Learning Center is where you can get started and learn more. Just go to blog.rpr.com/learning and choose the specific topic you're interested in, and then narrow down your options. You can then choose your own way of learning, from comprehensive webinars to quick video tutorials, printable guides, and in-depth ebooks. Don't miss our tips and strategy articles, realtor success stories, and decoding real estate, a podcast that breaks down topics and trends critical to your real estate business. So be sure to subscribe to the RPR YouTube channel. It's an easy way to learn more about RPR features and tools and stay current on updates and improvements. New members, we have curated the best of the best under our RPR new member toolkit. rpr.com/new-member. RPR is the benefit of the National Association of Realtors and included in your member dues. Know your clients and close your deals. Log in to RPR today.
So look at that, no additional fee. You get that for free with your membership that you're going to be paying for anyway, right? So, wow, isn't that a cool tool? Look, when you got the app on your cell phone, if you open that app up and you're standing in front of a building that's for sale or lease, that the details of that property are going to come up without you touching any other buttons. Isn't that pretty cool? It uses the GPS location on your cell phone, and it says, hey, you're standing in front of this property that's listed. Boom, it's going to bring up that property's information. So you don't even have to do a search, and you could just get right into it and get it. Yeah, it's pretty cool info. You could search what's around you in your neighborhood or where you're standing right now. It's a neat tool. By the way, all of these links in that class link is Word document, once again. And then we have NJR Forms. That's a domain name that I bought that points to that contract form system, the digital contract form system from the from New Jersey Association of Realtors there. Okay, so some of the designation courses and classes that they have for training on different topics. Let's see, they have designations and certifications from NAR or from njrealtor.com. See what classes they hold here locally in the state versus nationally and online. And those classes that may be held nationally, if they're not held here in New Jersey, or if they're held online, you can take a lot of these online. Some of them they have them at different locations, you know. If you have to travel to take a class, didn't that just become a business trip? That business trip is now tax deductible. Your airfare, your food, your hotel, all that good stuff, not your bar bill. Okay, keep that in mind. That's not tax deductible. But your meals and all the travel and everything associated with it are, because you're doing something for your business. So next time you're planning a vacation, why don't you integrate a class into that vacation? So maybe you turn it into a business trip. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nod, nod. Talk to your tax professionals, though. I don't want to lead you down a wrong way there. So here's some of these classes. Real estate designation courses you could take through NAR, National Association of Realtors. Let's see, what do they got? ABR, Accredited Buyer's Representative. Accredited Land Consultant, if you want to deal with selling land. Here's a major one in commercial real estate. This is the biggie that you should work for. It'll take you a while to get it, though. It also has a performance requirement that you have to sell and lease so many different types of properties. The Certified Commercial Investment Member, or CCIM. The CIPS, Certified International Property Specialist, if you want to deal with international property sales. Certified Property Manager, if you're going to be getting into property management. Brokerage management. This one's good for just most agents that are involved in residential. The CRS is a great designation. It is one that does require you to take certain continuing education classes that they give in order to maintain your CRS designation, though. And when you become a CRS agent, you also become a member of their referral network. So you get access to a database of 8 other CRS agents, which have a record of performing much better than your average agent. And so now you know that if you have a lead that you want to refer to someone across the country, how do you know who to reach out to and give it to? Well, you have access to a CRS database. You could give it to an agent who's more likely to close the deal. So you know you're not pissing away that lead, right? Counselors of real estate, that's for education. Accredited appraiser. Greening, if you're interested in green buildings and construction, here's that course designation. Graduate Realtor Institute, the GRI, they refer to this as an advanced study of real estate or an advanced degree in real estate. It's basically a class that could substitute taking the broker's course to get your broker's license. Performance Management Network is not for us. Associate Certified Exec, that's not for us. Residential Accredited Appraiser, that's for appraisers, a course for them. Seller Representative Specialist, that's for you. You can take that. SIOR, this is another Society of Industrial and Office Realtors. That's another commercial type designation. Here's a good one for seniors. You know, we got a lot of seniors, and when people start to become empty nesters, the kids grew up, moved out, does the senior need to have that big old house still? Is it becoming harder for them to maintain and costly, especially here in New Jersey, to have a big old house rather than maybe it's time to downsize? Get a house in a senior community, perhaps. But how do they get financing? How do they pack their stuff up and move when you're all getting older and stuff? These things can become more difficult. Well, this course teaches you a lot about the ins and outs, and it can teach you on how to deal with seniors. So look, now you're going to have a sale to sell their old house and a purchase to buy their new one. But there's some other issues you got to deal with in between: financing, moving, all kinds of things like that. And this is a fairly cheap course to take, maybe around $100 or under that. Couple of hours. Could end up making you a lot of money, though. You're At Home with Diversity, you could take that course. They do not offer this one anymore. They discontinued this, the BPO course, teaching you how to do those broker price opinions for banks and making money on the side there. I don't know why they did that. but there are other places out there where you can take those classes on BPOs. You want to start a real estate team? Be a team leader, perhaps? You could get one of these certified real estate team specialists. Learn about social media marketing, taking the digital marketing for social media. ePro teaches you about integrating technology in your real estate business, teaches you all about different tools and websites and software and all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm going to give you a little tip here. If technology that you're adopting, it's one thing to like to have the latest technology and adopt all of this stuff, but if it becomes more of a hassle to try to figure out how to use it and it starts wasting more of your time and consuming more of your time, you're better off not using it. You know, technology is supposed to make your life easier, not harder, right? Here, you want to learn about different financing aspects. You got the home finance resource, teaches you different financing strategies. Become an inside sales agent. Learn about luxury home sales with this certification. You don't market luxury homes in the same areas that you do your average home. You know, when you're dealing with multi-million-dollar properties, you may want to advertise them in those magazines that go on private jets, you know, things of that. There's different places where you do that. The Robb Report, the DuPont Registry, and a lot of other websites for the higher end luxury homes, not your local magazine that you see there at the ShopRite. How about this? A lot of military personnel and military families, they move all the time. They get relocated all the time. Become a military relocation specialist to help those military families do their relocation. That's a pretty good one. A little patriotic too. How about that? Pricing strategy advisor. This is teaching you how to do your CMAs and valuations. I would still say that the one from Ottawa, I never took this one, so I couldn't give you really advice on how great it is or not. But that one from Ottawa, OTTEAU.com, that's taught by New Jersey appraisers, maybe a little bit slicker. And let's see, real estate investing certificate, REI. How about this? This is a 2-day course. I took this one once before. It's the real estate negotiation specialist or expert, I'm sorry. How about dealing with resorts and vacation and second homes, vacation properties and second homes? You could become that resort and second home property specialist. Or short sales and foreclosures with the SFR. There's also another one, which is a non-NAR class that teaches you this. It's called the CF. Oh my God, what the hell is it called? Shoot, I once had it. I don't even remember, I don't remember what it's called. A certified something. You're certified in something. Certified. It has to deal with short sales and foreclosures. You could become a specialist in that. I'll remember it. Oh, I got it on that slide. We'll go back to that slide and you could see it. Let me see. Do I got it here? Yeah, CDPE. I'm sorry. That's a certified distressed property expert. Smart home certification. You know, if you're into all the technology, you got the smart home properties. There you go. All right, so that's the last one of that batch. Let's see what New Jersey's offering. Do they offer anything different here? Let's take a look. That's all the same stuff, really. Oh, they just give you little explanations what each one is for and teaches. All right. Now here's one that is not a NAR course, but yet this is a course that they do accept for that CRS designation. is the certified new home specialist and certified residential construction specialist. This is actually a really good course. Actually, you know, let me not click on it. Let me go back there. The slideshow. On the next slide, I'm going to have something about it. There will be a little video that this lady that does these courses. There we go. CNHS, CRCS designations, and they have, I think they have one or two other ones as well. They teach you how to speak to developers and get listings from developers. And to be able to speak with them in a knowledgeable fashion, you need to know the anatomy of the construction and the process, as well as for fixing up homes and flipping them. That's another designation they have. So let her do the talking, and let me just change the audio here. And
Hi, I'm Teresa Walsh, and I want to thank you for taking a few minutes with me to learn about our national designation training, Residential Construction Certified and Certified New Home Specialist. Now, I know you're here because you want to learn about new home sales, new home opportunities out there. Well, I'm excited to tell you that our training is going to not only open your eyes to the opportunities in there in your market area, we're going to teach you how to do the business right. Because you know what? You don't get a second chance to make that first impression. One way you could get into the new homes arena is builder representation. We're going to teach you how to identify these small, medium-sized builders, how to sell your services to the builders, most importantly, be a success. So for example, if you find one of these small, medium-sized builders, they have 25, 35 home sites, you know you have 25, 35 paychecks coming your way. You can't do that in resale. Another massive opportunity in new homes is new home buyer representation. It's interesting. I talk to a lot of real estate professionals. We attend these national real estate conventions, and it doesn't occur to the majority of real estate professionals to market themselves as a new home buyer representative. Let's capture these buyers before they go to the builders. Be known as the go-to agent in new home sales. You can't sell a buyer what you're comfortable selling. You have to sell that buyer what's right for them. So many agents steer buyers to resale because they're not comfortable talking new homes. They don't want to wait for their commission. But again, it's all about building that pipeline, creating your referral business, because when you can demonstrate value to your buyers, you're going to get loyalty. They're going to tell their friends, and away you go, building a name for yourself and your market as the go-to agent for new homes. And one last massive opportunity is infill construction. This is tear down, rebuild opportunities. Investors are looking to invest their money in these projects. We're going to teach you how to identify the opportunities, how to package these deals, and participate in the success of these projects. So I've shared a few things with you today. I'm super excited to tell you that our training is all online. So it's available whenever you are. You create a username and password, log in whenever you want. If it's 20 minutes today, an hour next week. But when you're done with those full 22 hours of training, you've earned 2 national designations, Residential Construction Certified, which teach you all the parts and pieces of a home from the ground up. We're in an HGTV world. You need to understand the product that you're selling. Certified New Home Specialist is going to share some of the ideas I shared with you today and then some. We had a national organization do an independent study, and they found that agents that have our National Certified New Home Specialist designation on average earn $53,000 more per year. You have nothing to lose. We have a full 90-day money-back guarantee. That means go through the full 22 hours of training. If you are not thrilled, if you don't feel you're going to be able to go out there, make it happen, give us a call. We will give you a full refund. So I want to thank you again for spending a few minutes with me today, and I hope that you're going to look at investing in your future and taking new home sales and making it a part of your real estate career. Thank you again so much, and I wish you all the best.
now, if you actually go to their website, they have more than a certified new home specialist or residential construction certified training. If you were to actually click on that link and go to their website, where's my Zoom control? There we go. So these are the two that we're showing you in that designation here. Oh, prices come down on them a bit. Look at that. When I got this course and I took the course, it was like almost $2,000. So I guess the price on it came down a bit. Now they do have other additional training packages as well, though, that include other types of that also include support materials and forms and slideshows and all kinds of other stuff. This stuff appears to be half the cost of what I paid for it back in the day. They also have residential remodeling specialist as well. And then they got these toolkits for it with the packages. These suits are also including all kinds of materials for you as well. Okay, so they got several different training packages that you could get in addition to what she was just explaining.
Well, what if you already like remodel a few homes? Is that
Well, then, I mean, it's about having the knowledge of reaching out to those people and discussing with those people and looking out for those kinds of investors and being able to speak with them in a manner and market your services to them, showing your value to them to be able to get those listings. You know, you could help them buy those properties that they want to fix and flip. And then after they do, then they're going to then they'll sell them with you, hopefully. You know, these programs teach you how to do that, have those educated conversations with them and how to be able to do it and have all the forms.
Just to be clear, do they allow like a tap into a certain database of builders, or this is what you have to?
They show you how to reach out to them. You know, for databases of builders, that's easy. There's all these list aggregators that are out there that you can purchase. You could purchase lists of all the licensed builders, or you could even go to some websites and look them up yourself and build your own, where you could get all the builders. And with AI, even you could probably even do that. You know, what is that? Let me see. I got a Windows computer here. Let me see. I got Microsoft Copilot. I could probably click on that and ask it, you know, to make me a list of all the new home construction builders in New Jersey, you know, in Union County or in a specific county. You could even narrow it down even further if you wanted to. And let me see if it'll actually help me with that or not, if I wanted to do that. Let me take a look back in here and put that up, pull that up on Copilot. Let me ask it. Let me see. List of but make me a list of all new home construction builders in New Jersey. Huh. Well, it gave me a list of some. Pulte, Keovanian, Lennar, Toll Brothers, Keovanian Homes, J.S. Hovanian and Son, D.L. Horton, which is the largest builder, I think, in the United States. The estates at Old Marks Creek, never heard of them. Paparone New Homes, Schaefer New Homes. You could explore more builders and communities on platforms like Zillow and newhomesource.com. But yeah, you could buy lists too, because builders need to be licensed. So you got people out there who aggregate lists of these folks too to get those lists. That's the easy part.
Okay. What about the municipalities? Can you gather that list like from from the requests, information requests, or
For what, the ones that are planning on doing new construction?
yeah, I mean that would be the ones that are active, because that the other list, they have a lot of fluff in it. But can you have access to that information?
You'd be better off scanning industry articles and construction and attending municipal town hall meetings. because any large construction project has to be approved by the city council at the town hall meetings. You find out what their schedules are. You go to those towns, their town hall meetings. That gives you the opportunity there to introduce yourself, stick your business card in their hand, and all that. But are they going to be having a discussion or any of those types of construction projects going on? I don't know.
Yeah, if you give them a couple of drinks, they'll tell you.
Well, you got to find out. Like, are you going to go to a town hall meeting and there's going to be no discussions and no projects or anything like that are going to be even on the schedule? So yeah, it's a little bit tougher there to try to track down. I see where you're coming at. You want to know about it before they start building the project. You want to get it, there with them. And I guess the best way to do that is to reach out to them directly in advance instead of, scouring town halls. But, in your own town, you could do that, though. At least I wouldn't go to every town hall for all towns. We have 564 municipalities in New Jersey, so that'd make it a little tough.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh. Oh boy, where did we leave off? Hold on, I'm trying to find this slide where we left off here. Oh, it was done. Okay, so that was the last slide of this chapter. So chapter 3 is now done. So there are key terms to review. There are 3 sets of key terms to review for this chapter. So let's get to the key terms to review. Is there 3? Is there 4 now? No, there are 4 key terms to review for this large chapter. Let's do that, and then we'll get into chapter 4, which is the chapter on discrimination. And then when we're done with that, then we finally start getting into real estate. Listen, I've been bringing up real estate stuff, and we were talking about real estate. I've been bringing it up and making it real estate related. But in reality, this course doesn't even start talking about real estate until chapter 5. It starts talking about the laws, the rules, the regulations. I tried bringing some of this stuff up to give you tips and things to make it not as dry and as boring. It may still have been dry and boring to some of you, but, did my best to try with the material I got at hand here, to make it a little bit real estate related, even though we haven't really gotten into any of the real estate stuff yet. Anyway, so let's do the key terms to review and get past this. All right, let's do key terms 1. Are you ready? I read out this the phrase on the right-hand side of the page. You guys are going to shout out what you think the corresponding answer is to it on the left-hand side. There's no penalties for wrong answers, so shout them out as you got them. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Regulations prohibiting price fixing. What do we call that regulation that prohibits price fixing?
Antitrust law.
Antitrust laws.
2 is A, antitrust laws. That would be correct. Principal, who engages an agent. What do we call them?
Client.
They're a client. 6 is B. An agent who takes a buyer as the principal.
Buyer's broker.
5 is C. Person authorized by another to act under a power of attorney.
Attorney, in fact.
They're an attorney in fact, when in fact they're not an attorney. 3 is D. Third person in a transaction, not the principal.
Customer.
They're a customer. 9 is E. Written explanation of business relationships.
Consumer information statement.
Yep, the CIS. 8 is F. Broker's usual compensation.
Commission.
It's their commission. 7 is G. All right, now these last 2, I think they may have them a little mixed up here, but one who is authorized to act for another in a real estate transaction and receive compensation.
Broker.
I would think that it would be the broker too. They have down here the right answer as agent, but Either one would be acceptable, but I think broker is the better answer for that. And I'll explain why in a moment. Let's do the next one. One authorized to act for another.
Agent.
They have broker for that one, but the agent was probably a better answer for that. Let me see. So why is that? Let me see. One who's authorized to act for another in a real estate transaction and receive compensation. An agent is authorized to act for another and receive compensation. But really look at it, that's what they have as the answer. But the broker is the one, they're the only one who could charge the public fees for the services performed. So I think that answer would be better suited for the broker. And then the next one that says one authorized to act for another, well, that's an agent. An agent is authorized to act for another in another way. So what I did is I actually switched them because I think that 4 should be H and 1 should be I. I think that would be the better answer there for the reasoning that I just gave.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Key 2. Revealing to another any pertinent information.
Disclosure.
That is disclosure. 1 is A. Salesperson whose broker pays Social Security and regulates their hours, etc.
Employee.
They are an employee. 3 is B. Person who enjoys the trust of another to act in a person's best interest.
Principal.
Principal.
8 is C, the principal. Agency representing both the seller and the buyer.
Dual agency.
A dual agency. 2 is D. Party who represents another in a fiduciary relationship. What do you-
Fiduciary, I think.
Owes fiduciary duties to someone else? I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Fiduciary, I think.
It's a fiduciary. 4 is E. Intentional misleading of another who is thereby harmed.
Fraud.
6 is F. A special relationship of trust and confidence between a principal and their agent.
Fiduciary relationship.
5 is G, the fiduciary relationship. One who is empowered to act for a wide range of actions.
General agent.
General agent.
7 is H, the general agents. Key terms 3. One who facilitates a transaction without functioning as an agent.
Independent contractor, I think. Wrong.
Who facilitates a transaction without functioning as an agent?
Sub-agent.
Transaction, they're acting as the manager of the transaction.
Transaction broker.
Transaction broker, 16 is A.
Okay.
One authorized to act for another in a specific transaction.
Special agent.
In one capacity only. They can work in one capacity only. Yes, special agent. 14 is B. Illegal sharing of a commission with the seller. What do you call it when you give anything of value to someone who's not licensed?
Is that a kickback?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
2 is C. Rules governing conduct of agents.
Law of agency.
The law of agency. 4 is D. Agreement between a buyer and a seller on the major points.
Listing agreement.
An agreement.
Meeting of minds.
They come to a meeting of the minds. Correct. 6 is E. Written authorization allowing one person to act on behalf of another.
Power of attorney.
8 is F, the power of attorney. The one employing an agent, the client. What do we also refer to them as?
Salesperson?
Mm-mm. What do we refer to
Agent.
the client as?
Sub-agent?
The client, the client.
Oh, okay.
Principal.
Principal?
Principal. 9 is G. The one who brings about the sale.
Salesperson.
And therefore, they're the one that's owed the commission. When two agents are in dispute, who's the one that's owed the commission?
Procuring cause.
The procuring cause, correct. 10 is H. An agent is a
Sub-agent.
subagent. 15 is I. Contract by which the owner retains a broker to find a buyer. What do we call that contract?
A listing agreement.
A listing agreement. 5 is J. Harmless exaggeration is salesmanship. You should do it. Harmless exaggeration as salesmanship.
Buffing?
Puffing, correct. 11
I
is,
told you before, Buffing.
I did not hear you. You have to repeat yourself. That's why.
I said it before. I thought it was wrong.
Okay. 11 is K. Salesperson who sets their own hours, pays their own estimated income taxes, etc.
Salesperson.
Independent contractor.
They are an independent contractor. 1 is L.
Oh.
Problem not discovered by a normal, prudent inspection.
Latent defect.
A latent defect. 3 is M, because latent means hidden. Person licensed to assist a real estate broker.
Salesperson.
Oh, you better get that one, yeah. 13 is N, salesperson. Legislation requiring that communities be alerted to the presence of sex offenders.
Megan's Law.
Megan's Law. 7 is O. One qualified and prepared to purchase.
Ready, willing, and able to buy. Able buyer.
Ready, willing, and able buyer. 12 is P. Okay, turn the page. There's one more key terms to review there, but before we get started doing it, we have to do a little writing on the right-hand side of the page. Next, after letter C, at the end of that line, after the word organization, write NAR in all capital letters. NAR, NAR.
There.
After letter C, at the end of the line there for letter C, write NAR.
Okay.
Go down to letter G and cross out the word fraud. And above it, write unintentional misrepresentation.
Can you repeat that?
So you next to letter G, you're crossing out the word fraud, and you're writing unintentional misrepresentation.
Okay.
To letter H, where it says fraud, cross out the word fraud and write misrepresentation. I love how the book manufacturer likes to define words with the word itself. You can't define a word by saying, what is water? Water. Explanation of what it actually is if you don't know what water is, right? What is paper? Paper. What is fraud? Fraud. You know. So let's get into it now. Unintentional deception committed in ignorance. Ooh, that don't sound too good.
Innocent misrepresentation.
Innocent misrepresentation, although it don't sound too innocent when they call you ignorant, you're ignorant, right? 6 is A. Real estate equivalent of malpractice coverage. What's the insurance we carry?
Graduate realtor? Oh, no. Errors and omission insurance?
Errors and emissions insurance, correct. E&O. Errors and emissions insurance, E&O. 3 is B. Member of a private national organization, NAR. Who is the member of NAR?
New Jersey Realtors.
Just realtor?
Just realtor, which that would be your broker then, right? So 10 is C. Statewide group of real estate licensees who choose to join. What is that?
National Association of Realtors.
Statewide.
Oh, that's New Jersey.
New Jersey
Jersey
Realtors.
Realtors. There you go. 9 is D. Designation awarded for advanced study.
Graduate Realtor Institute?
Correct. 5 is E. Problem when serving best interest of both the client and oneself.
Code of Ethics. Standard of Care. No.
Conflict of interest.
A conflict. So it's a problem when serving best interest of both the client and oneself. That's
Okay.
a conflict of interest. 2 is F. Unintentional misrepresentation committed by someone who should have known better.
Negligent misrepresentation.
Well, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Negligent misrepresentation.
Yes, negligent misrepresentation. 8 is G. Intentional misrepresentation.
Fraudulent misrepresentation.
Yes, 4 is H. Competence normally expected.
Standard of care.
That's your standard of care. 11 is I. Standards of conduct adopted by realtors.
Code of Ethics.
That's our code of ethics. So you guys were harmonizing on saying that time. Private, so 1 was J. Private nationwide organization of brokers and salespersons.
National Association of Realtors.
NAR, or National Association of Realtors. 7 is K. And that concludes chapter 3. Yay!